p.m. Take roll call.
Cantwell. Here. Mrs. Cloutier. Here. Ms. Franklin. Here. Mrs. Baduni. Mr. Heisman.
Here.
Mrs. Kelleher.
Here.
Mrs. Russ.
Here.
Mr. Schuman.
Here.
Mr. Zabrowski.
Here.
Mrs. Arnista. Here. Ms. Berry. Here. Mr. Rosado.
Here.
Mrs. Binghamton. Here. Mr. Butler.
Here.
Mrs. Cochiolo. Mrs. Demaro. Here. Mrs. Tichina. Here. Mr. Puckle.
Here.
Dr. McLean. Here. Dr. Macri.
Here.
Ms. Maher. Here. Ms. Middlebrooks. Here. Mrs. O'Leary. Here. Mrs. Shepherd. Mr. Shuttle.
Here.
Ms. Talbot. Here. Mrs. Weiskel. Here. Julia Bayer-Rodova. Here. Summer Petro. Jack Mandeville. Here. Madison Stryker. Mayor James Demetriadis.
Here.
Did I miss anyone from?
I don't believe so. There's no one here from Board of Finance that I see, so I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to approval of our agenda, additions, deletions, and a review of the highlights. We have our ESS presentation and some regular items on the agenda this evening. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Matt, second Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. The agenda is approved. On to public comments. And before I read the rules for public comments, is there anyone here with a public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we will continue on to celebrating our faculty and staff. And this month we're celebrating our middle school. So Mrs. Cochiola will come on up and introduce.
Good evening, good evening. So we begin with our recognizing our staff. And I would like to share with you an exciting teaching unit that our very own social studies teacher, Josh Chabowski, is creating in conjunction with our social worker, Ethna LaMontagne. She was out sick today, so she's not able to be here this evening. But as you know, we are working toward and creating interdisciplinary units that infuse real life and, anytime we can, our SEL components. Well, Josh here is going to share with you his unit that also not only ties in all this real life fun stuff, but ties in with our standards but we'll show you how we can work in a very, pardon the pun, punny way. Come on up, Josh.
Good evening. So this year, social work and social studies classes are collaborating on a garden that we are doing with 6th grade students, and there is mulch for me to share with you this evening. So through a curriculum that is rooted in the book, The Self-Esteem Garden, we have incorporated elements of things like conflict resolution and being the best person we can be, alongside actually growing a small container garden in the classroom. Students have dug in and they used their research skills to learn about different types of plants, as well as food scarcity before they actually decided what they wanted to plant. And we had conversations about how realistic that was and settled on things like peas, beans, carrots, lettuce, and mint is the other one that is trying to grow right now in the container garden. So our upcoming unit on global goals and sustainability provides further opportunities for us to really sow the seeds of global cooperation and responsibility. And interdisciplinary connections are already blooming. Students have been asking whether the changes they've seen are chemical changes or physical changes, so they're really bringing that science connection into play here. We are in the seedling stages of this project, but we do hope that it will further bloom and become deep-rooted in the school community and other content areas. We're actually finishing an application to present and show this project off with the Association for Middle Level Education in November at their annual conference. And we really, really would like to thank the CMSPTO as well as Gardens Dream for their very generous donations, which have really allowed this project to grow into what it is today. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I appreciated your wit and all the gardening terminology.
Yes, thank you, Josh. And he'll be sharing some pictures that I can share with you, the process and the procedures as things are going through. So, you know, the steps on the plants and how they're growing and their connections. So I'll certainly be able to share that with you.
Great.
And then tonight, I'm very excited to share with you our 8th graders. Where are my 8th graders? Come on up. Come on up. I know some of our folks, come on up, come on up. Some of our folks are here. But to our 8th graders who performed in our recent The Little Mermaid. And as always, I'm impressed with our students' commitment and dedication to performing in our drama program. Most importantly, I'm impressed with their amazing talent and ability to be versatile. For 3 years, these folks have been involved in drama since they were 6th graders, and just to see them grow and blossom and just create, just their talent just blows us away. And all of these students performed or participated, as I said, in the past 3 years, whether it was actually performing or within the stage crew. And some moved from stage crew to actually perform on stage. They got the acting bug, so they came up. I'm most proud of how they adjusted. We had a new director this year, and boy, they knocked it out of the park. They absolutely soared, and it was a fabulous performance. So I would like to congratulate, and I know some of our students couldn't be here tonight, but Emily Arnold, Antonia Davenport, Jack Mandigo, Kennedy Carter, Gabe LaMonica, Luke Midgley, Brianna Meyer, Riley Woods, Sophia Scherer, Kayla Semino, Diallo Shallow, Addie Tice, Olivia Salling, Madison Stryker, Olivia Cloutier, and Rain Manning. Look at how many 8th graders just jumped in and performed, and so I just want to give a huge shout out to these folks and thank them for keeping our drama program alive and well. Do you guys want to sing? No?
Putting them on the spot like that?
Well, we had talked about it, and then they were like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. So, but please, I'd like to give them a round of applause for being such fabulous people. Thank you, folks. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations to all of you. All of our performances are so amazing at the school. I'm sure it's bittersweet that it's your final year at the musical at the middle school, but we look forward to seeing you at the high school productions. Any comments from board members? Questions? Go ahead, Catherine.
Thank you to the 8th graders because you set a very good example and tone for the drama department and for the school itself. I know that a lot of kids who are not in drama do come out to see the play. And I know that the drama department took a big hit during COVID, so I am super pumped to see you guys back and active and really doing a outstanding job with it. So thank you very much for all your effort and time and talents that you share with us.
Such a good experience. I'm sure it's something you'll never forget. Okay, from there we'll move on to our reports of liaisons from Town Council, Board of Finance, Building Committee. And tonight we do have Mayor Dimitriadis with us, so you can come on up and start first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of the Board of Education and the Board of Education community. Happy to be with you. As I'm sure the Chairwoman shared with you at your last meeting, the Town Council did approve all of the 11 appropriations for the capital non-reoccurring expenditures, and those went on to Board of Finance, and those all passed as well. So we're very excited that this is the first step of a long-term investment in our facilities here in town. And I was talking with Board Member Heidsman before the meeting started about the summer we have ahead of us to start figuring out our larger strategic plan. And to that end, we are going to be meeting with stakeholders about the fields tomorrow. I know we've invited the field committee, we invited the recreation committee, we were invited the athletic director and some other folks to join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock. You all as Board of Education members are invited as well to come to Town Hall, and we're going to kind of talk about a strategic plan with regards to the fields project now that we have the other school infrastructure projects on our table too, trying to figure out how are we going to work all these projects together into our cake that we call the town. So more to come on that, but we're definitely going to keep an eye towards developing a real true strategic plan that will give us a 5-year, 10-year kind of outlook on all of the capital expenditures. May 7th is the budget referendum. You may notice that there's a new question on the ballot this year for the referendum. The question asks if you vote no, whether you voted no because the budget is too low or too high. So Superintendent Macri, I saw those those words being mouthed. So if somebody feels the budget was too low and we should fund it higher, they could vote no and indicate to us too low. And Berlin does this, and we think this is a good tool. So if it does come back as a negative, we can kind of have an idea, do people want more investment? What are they looking for? And it kind of guides the conversation we'll have afterwards. And then finally, I just wanted to go over the budget, or two things actually, I'm sorry. The budget numbers for general government, with the CNR items added in, it's 8.98. The Board of Education budget was the 5.88, and Board of Finance passed the debt service, which was 3.45. Altogether, that is a 6.73% increase that will be in front of the voters on May 7th. So tell all your friends, May 7th, because you all worked really hard on your budget and spent countless hours, so it'd be great if we got a good turnout for that. Last item is I want to thank the elementary school for inviting me to their reading literacy night. We had a really great time reading a book about the incredible If, and it was a really, really wonderful activity, especially to get all the kids really excited about reading. I was very nervous, I have to admit, because I've never read in front of children before. That was, the whole, I was practicing for an hour beforehand about how to hold the book. And thank you to the wonderful staff at the elementary school for getting a projector, so that I didn't have to, I still held the book, but the pictures were behind me, so I felt a little more relieved about my picture showing abilities. But it was a really wonderful event. One more thing, I'm sorry. Last night we invited our athletes from the track team, both the girls and boys track team, to come to the town council, and they were presented with proclamations proclaiming yesterday their day, and in celebration for their achievements this past track season. Something that I think is really important is by having these celebrations. I know the Board of Ed celebrates them, but I want them to know that the whole town celebrates them. Our student athletes, our student clubs, they all are part of the fiber of this town. And as somebody who grew up in this town and went through the school district, and we didn't have middle school musicals, we had all school productions. And I'm so happy and so proud to see how all of these programs have grown and flourished, and it's because of this board's investment in those programs. So thank you for investing in the students and investing in their programs. I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for recognizing our students and being such a supporter. And we are looking forward to getting some projects done starting over the summer. One question for you, we do need to circle back on that committee for the 5 years, so I'm not sure the timeline on that, but just connect with me when you know more.
Sure. Just broadly to broadly answer it, the goal would be probably late May, early June. We'd have our first meeting. I think Board Member Heinzman and I were talking about having your facilities meeting committee have a subcommittee meeting first. Maybe to have some kind of preliminary conversations amongst the Board of Ed members about what the Gordian project has in it, because I know you went over it as well. And then we'll have our larger tri-board committee probably meeting late May, early June, and then we'll roll our way through the summer. And then I will also make sure that we continue to have someone from the Board of Education invited to our long-range capital planning meetings. I think that's really important that everybody is at the table at those meetings so that we have a group strategic plan that we all buy into.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for your time.
Did you have a question? No, okay. All right.
Well, there was a planning and zoning meeting tonight.
Oh, right. I wanted to ask about that. You're right. Thank you for bringing that up.
So there's a planning and zoning meeting tonight discussing the fields, and it's a public meeting. Unfortunately, it overlaps with our Board of Ed meeting because there are 3 athletic field committee members that are sitting in this room that cannot be a part of that. So that's, so we won't know what's happening until after.
Do you have any insight into that that you want to share? Or
It's
no?
a public hearing. They may not vote on it tonight if they have additional questions, but it is an opportunity for the public to get notice and have the opportunity to comment. The original process that it went through at the Planning and Zoning Commission did not have public comment on the project, and some residents were upset about that, so we kicked it back and we wanted it to go through the thorough public comment. We felt on the council, we felt like it was really important for people to have public comments on it. But zoning is going to be looking at the site plan, and that is what they're going to be approving or not approving. And then when it comes to the council, we'll approve or not approve the project, and then Board of Finance will approve or not approve the financing. So the project has some legs still left, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have some clarity on what planning and zoning did tonight with it. so that way we can kind of come up with a strategic plan tomorrow about where we want the project to go and how we're going to kind of move forward with it based off of what they approve. So I'm hoping they approve it, knock on wood.
And we can probably catch up on it if we have any energy left after this meeting, if we get on there quick enough before the loop ends, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you. Any
you.
other questions on that? All right, so that covers the field committee, and we have building, CMS building committee. We do have a reference A in our packet. Talks a little bit about the excessive rain we've been having and the flooding, and I know they have a meeting tomorrow night. From there, we'll move on to report of our student representatives. So we'll start with the middle school.
All right, let me see if this works this time. The third marking period came to a close in late March, and the fourth quarter has begun. Teacher held the first ever spring parent-teacher conferences at CMS. SBAC testing will begin with the language arts exam on Thursday, April 18th, and Friday, April 19th. Testing will continue the following week with math exams on April 23rd, 25th, and 26th. There will be no SBAC testing Wednesday, April 24th. This will conclude testing for the 6th and 7th graders. Testing for 8th graders will conclude with the Next Generation Science Standards exam the week of April 29th. Cromwell's track is running alive. And well as evidenced by the unprecedented turn of nearly 100 athletes for the 2024 team. Coach Bosworth, St. Ange, and Glow are ready to hit the ground running. Coach Penny is anticipating a great softball season this year that is led by 8th graders, and baseball is having the selected 2024 CMS team. Coaches Anino, Mr. Miller, and are excited for the start of the season.
The band is learning the music from the Disney motion picture Aladdin and the music of Mozart. Students are excited to perform in the spring concert. Members of Select Choir are looking forward to perform Rolling in the Deep by Adele and Yesterday and Blackbird by the Beatles in their concert at Wednesday, May 26th. Yearbooks are for sale, and the Yearbook Club is making the final plans and taking pictures for the yearbook. The musical The Little Mermaid was a smash success. Congratulations to the cast and crew and to Mr. Fling in his CMS directorial debut. The CMS shoe crew, under Mr. Dagley, is successfully collecting used shoes to be recycled.
Thank you both. Any questions? Okay, we'll go on to the high school. Summer or Julia?
Prom is on Saturday, April 27th at St. Clement's Castle in Portland. To enhance awareness and educate students about the perils of drinking and driving, CHS will be hosting a mock car crash event on Tuesday, April 23rd. On April 1st, the Cromwell Spring Sports captains attended a sportsmanship conference with their fellow Shoreline Conference captains in North Brantford. In honor of Michael Ribera, there will be a Red Cross blood drive led by Student Council on April 20th.
Spring sports are officially in action. Baseball last played yesterday against Coggins, which resulted in an exciting first win of the season, and they play next today against Old Lyme. Softball played Friday the 12th, also against Coggins, and played today at 4 o'clock against Old Lyme as well. Girls tennis had a match yesterday at Valley Regional High School. Boys tennis also had a match against Valley Regional at home. Girls lacrosse last played a game Thursday the 11th against North Brantford, which resulted in an unfortunate loss, but they play again against Morgan today. Boys lacrosse also played Thursday the 11th against North Brantford and played tonight at 4 o'clock against Morgan. The outdoor track team has a meet today against Morgan and East Hampton, and golf had their last match take place on Thursday, May 11th against Old Lyme and also play today against Haddam-Killingworth.
Thank you. Any questions? Is that mock crash during the school day type of event? I don't know if the students would know that. Or
Yeah,
they would.
we could have Mr. Cockle come up and explain.
I just wondered, it's for students, it's not for
No, it's
other
for kids.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. And we'll move on to town collaboration updates. I do have a couple of items. Thank you both. Have a good night. So at the meeting last night too, I wanted to mention that as part of our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, I failed to mention earlier, that the town council approved their portion, the collaboration through the community to work with Joel Murchison, who is the consultant from EMG Group, which we also retained. So we have our piece, and they're offering to assist with their end and run some community forums. So that was approved. And we did have a very successful budget season, I would say. I think there was a lot of collaboration. It was a very lengthy meeting when when Dr. Macri presented, but there were many questions. The administration did a great job, so I just want to commend them for that. And thanks to all of you that showed up to that meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, and to Catherine for standing in for me when I wasn't there. So that's all I have on that. But I do have a piece of correspondence I want to mention before we get to your report, and that is from, which I did forward to you all already, but just so the public knows, I do have a letter from Jenny Lucier, president of the Connecticut Association of School Librarians, and she wrote supporting retaining a full-time librarian at the high school, which, as you know, we did reduce to the 0.2. And Dr. Macri did respond to Ms. Lucier, so I think you gave a very thorough response to that. If anyone wants to see a copy, I can forward it to you. I'm sorry?
It will be in the minutes?
This will be, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. All right. Dr. Macri, superintendent's updates.
Good evening, everyone. There's so much that I have to tell you, but I will start with, let's see, what's the best news? Our police is fully staffed, which means we were getting our SRO back, which is so exciting to have a police force that's fully staffed, and they're so committed, and they're so committed to us. So I'm just so excited to be able to have our SRO returning, hopefully within 3 to 4 weeks. And after that, Officer Mitch will not be our SRO anymore, and we're going to enter into interviews. And we hear that we have 2 really awesome candidates. So we'll be interviewing over the next couple months to see who will be joining Officer Pete to be our second SRO. So that was really exciting news, and I couldn't wait to tell Kelly. So that was the first piece. The second thing I want to talk about quickly is we are beginning our interviews for WIST, the principal for WIST Elementary School this Thursday. We have a committee of about 10 people, so it's very versatile, and Kelly's going to be representing the board on that committee as well. So we look forward to in finding the best candidate to be the principal of WIS. Next, our DEI consultant, we did contract with Joelle Murchison. We talked about how we were going to make this work for Cromwell Public Schools. So what we're going to be doing is our 1 hour consultation meetings with her. Then we also talked about 4 90-minute belonging and inclusivity focus group conversations with students. So right now, Dr. McLean is in the process of working with Mr. Kuckel and Ms. Cochiola, because we're going to start with the middle and the high school, of what the focus groups will look like, who will be included, how many students, because we really want this to be a rich and deep conversation, so it has to be the right number. And we'll be collaborating, obviously, with Joelle Murchison to find out what a good number would be. We also will have 2 2-hour staff development workshops for on diversity, equity, and inclusion at the middle school, and same at the high school. And that is what we have committed to. And like Chairwoman Selena Kelleher mentioned earlier, the town is definitely partnering with us, which is great. I know it wasn't easy, but I also think it's very important for everyone in the town to understand that the problem doesn't start at the schools. Racism is alive and well, and we need to teach our students, but we need to teach our families on how to actually be allies. And that's not going to happen overnight, and we need everyone's support. So thank you to Mayor Dimitriadis and to the DEI committee, who's going to be doing a lot of the training and then participating in the community conversations, which I know we'll all be happy to attend and participate in. So thank you very much. I think it's a great step forward for Cromwell. And our new calendar was sent out to everyone. Everyone should have gotten it. Last day of school, June 13, graduation, June 10th. We started SBAC testing, like Jack mentioned. So please make sure your kids get to school early, bed early, they're well fed, and nobody yells at them in the morning. Please be nice to your children so that they come to school and test really well, because if they're in a bad mood, then they're going to take it out on the test. And we need them to do really well. Thank you to all the administrators. We really did a lot of pumping these kids up. And you saw the video, I'm sure, from WIS, which was so awesome. And the video contained teachers from ECS, so the kids saw their old teachers, and just getting them really excited about doing their best, just giving us their best shot. That's all we want from them. We do have a little bad news, and I think it's really important to share this, so everyone, please share this in the community with your friends, anybody who will listen. We have a $14,800 debt in our cafeteria funds. So that means students who could afford, families who could afford, owe the district $14,800 total. It's about, I would say, anywhere between 10 and 30 families. I think the high school is the highest right now, unfortunately. And we, of course, we would never want to keep food from kids. So they get a meal, but they're not paying for their meals. And we have had social workers reach out to make sure this isn't a financial burden, and working with families. We've done so much. It's gotten to the point where we're calling, sending letters, and I even have the principals calling families because that's how bad it is. So what happens with this is we're self-funded. Our cafeteria is self-funded. So that $15,000 is just going to grow over the next 3 months if it doesn't get paid here next couple months. So although it's self-funded and we have money in cafeteria funds, we are not allowed to spend that money on this. So that means the LEA, the local education agency, us, our budget, has to then pay back the cafeteria because we're not allowed to use that money. So I think people, and I'm hearing that the kids are having competitions on who can get their debt the highest, and it's very frustrating because we want to feed all of our kids and we want everyone to get lunch, but we have families who can't afford it and are not paying, and it's not right. It's not fair. It's not fair to the families who are, which all of you are, because I make sure I checked your names for the list, by the way.
Thanks for your faith.
You're paid. You are on tap. Yes, you're the first one as the chair, role model. But I think I don't believe in shaming, but in this situation, it's so bad, and it is shameful that this is happening. So, as we're all struggling to pay our bills, we need people to pay their bills as well. However,
what's
you
the
can
response, or I don't want to say excuse, but what's the reason, or what is the obstacle, do you think?
We'll send in a check tomorrow. We will pay tomorrow. When the most effective strategy has been the principal calls you, which is really hard because the principal has a million things to do and should not be doing that. And then you're trying to maintain a relationship, and then asking for money is very difficult. That has gotten us a really good response. But the excuse is that there is no excuse. It's just, oh, I'm so sorry, we're busy, we'll pay it. But then 2, 3, 4 weeks, months later, we have some students who owe up to $500 or $600. So it's become something we've never seen before. And we're not alone, because we obviously went to the free lunch, and then now we're not, and this is where we're at. And next year, it may not even pass with free breakfast. So we may have to pay for breakfast, which means our debt could possibly double. So people really, we need to be responsible, and we need to pay our debts, and we will never keep food or say anything to the students, because we don't do that. But it's the adults here that we need to work together and to, accept responsibility and pay their debts. So if you can help us get that information out, that would be great.
So, I know there's been cases in the past, not in this district, but in others. It's things that I've heard, I guess. But Do districts ever withhold like report cards or transcripts
allowed
or
to.
anything? Like we can't do that.
No, we're not allowed to withhold anything. The only thing I can do is hire a collection agency, which I really don't
No.
want to do to families. Some districts have started doing it because it's become out of control. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, but yeah, we can't withhold anything. That's part of the law and our policy, and yeah.
You can hold up graduation for not paying your dues, though, correct? Never mind.
Yes.
Let's move on.
We do our best.
Technically, no,
yeah.
maybe.
No.
Okay. And so just
At the end of
one
it,
final
yeah.
thought, we have My Payments Plus is one way to pay. You can
There's-
send in a check, you can send in cash in an envelope.
If you're struggling,
That's not the issue.
you call Sandra Shaw. If you don't want to call her, you can call the social worker. We can work out a payment plan with you. We will do whatever. It's just not acceptable to not pay. If you could afford it, and we will do anything and everything to help you fill out the forms and whatever. If you qualify for free and reduced lunch, whatever we need to do to help you, we will help you. Okay, so that's my little spiel. And I think I covered everything, and we talked about, you all know, our budget, first time ever. The full request from the Board of Education has been approved. I don't want to say ever, but in a very, very, very long time.
Second
The
time,
5.8.
second time.
No, last year it was decreed.
2 years ago, yeah.
Oh, it went down, they cut us 200,000.
200,000, but the year
Yeah.
before.
Oh, the 2 year,
Year
oh.
before.
Years ago.
And
Oh, yeah.
that was the first time.
That was the first time, yeah. The
In
second,
history.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. See, because it was only at 3%, and I needed more anyway. But 5.88, and all of our CNR projects, which is, thank God, because we really need it. We need it. And I was remiss at the meeting because I was a little nervous. Not really nervous about presenting, but you forget sometimes. But I don't do this alone. These people in this room, Mr. Shettle, and all of my administrators, we do this together. This is a huge job, and it starts in October, and it doesn't end until this year. It ended April 4th. These are amazing people who work day and night, and I can't say that I don't have one team player. We've 18 administrators, and every single one of them has worked incredibly hard to look at their budgets very carefully and help each other and help figure out what we need to do. So thank you to all of you, and I'm sorry for not saying thank you that night if I didn't, but there's absolutely no way one person could ever do it. So thank you so much, and thank you for being a unity, being so collaborative and working together, and for standing together and what we really believe we need for kids. So thank you to all of you. And I think, did I miss anything? No, I think I got everything.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Macri?
No, can I just?
Sure.
So, yeah, just as you were thanking everyone, I know a lot of what was presented has been presented to them throughout the school year too, and Selena keeps in close contact with with Chair John Ireland, and I go in and I present a lot, but it is overwhelming. The amount of what we present to them, the amount of what we give to them, a lot of the concepts they had seen before, but they're overwhelming. We deal with them even on our board more regularly than they do. So there were a lot of questions that came about again, even though we've gone through them before, and that's okay because they need to have a full understanding. So I appreciate the amount of effort and work that went in on the Board of Finance's side to really comprehend what's happening with our budget and everything, because we do spend a lot of time with them, but it is a lot. Our budget is extremely overwhelming. So
You're right, Catherine.
And the concepts are, like the McKinney-Vento Act, the
Yeah.
ESS, the reading waiver, all of those things they're a lot to digest.
Yeah.
So
And it's so strange. And really what I appreciate, because when I first started, it was not a kind meeting. It was very contentious, and it was sad because I'm like, we all want what's best for our kids. And so the collegiality and the kindness was very much appreciated by me. There's no reason we don't all necessarily agree with how or what, but our kids, there was, as you all saw, there was no movement, and I was so happy that they are understanding that. And I'll answer the same question 25 times over if I have to.
Because it is overwhelming for them to.
Yeah.
They're trying to look for ways to say, do we really need this in?
Yeah.
So they're going to ask again or ask for clarification, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
that's what's built this amazing relationship. So kudos to all the people who have been working on the Board of Finance and so openly with all of us on the Board of Ed.
I agree. And since John Ireland has become chair, I feel like he's reached out to us and he knows what his people need to see to really understand the budget. So I think the collaboration between him, myself, Dr. Macri, and everyone on the board has been beneficial to all of us.
Yep.
Yep. We have nothing to hide. We will show everything.
All right. If we're all set there, we'll move on to presentations and reports of administration. Item A is the 2023-2024 budget update, reference B in your packets. And Mr. Shettle, if you'd like to come on up, we do have a letter explaining the budget here.
Good evening. The largest difference, as you saw in my memo to Dr. Macri, is really the excess special education cost grant that we're getting, approximately $62,000 less than what we had forecasted. If they had given us at least the 75% level, we would have almost been at a break-even point in our budget right now. That basically is the reason the projected deficit at this point has gone up from last month to this month. If you look at all the pluses and minuses comparing February to March, that's the driving force. I mean, we had a few extra dollars in salaries, some minuses in other areas, but when you look at that $62,000, that was the driving force to increase the deficit, projected deficit right now. I'm not saying we're going to end the year with that deficit, but as of March, that's what it looks like. But on a daily basis, we're looking at that, and we're trying to find ways to come out at least at a zero. So it's probably is achievable, unless something again drastic happens, which we can't foresee in the future. But right now, again, not to repeat myself, but I will, the excess cost is the driving force from February to March.
Any questions? Okay. Kelly, then Alan.
The $15,000 of lunch debt, is that forecasted in here of us having to pay that? Would it come out of this fiscal budget or next fiscal budget if we needed to cover that?
No, it's not. It's not forecast yet. That's a question we're trying to get an answer from. I'm not sure we've put it to the state agency yet. It might be something that the organization I belong to, Connecticut Association of School Business Officials, might be able to ask the State Department of Ed Child Nutrition. But I believe the governing rule and regulation is a federal governing rule and regulation saying you can't use surplus from the food service account to pay for those students. The State Department of Ed Child Nutrition might be asking the federal government either for a waiver or a further clarification on that, because it seems a little dysfunctional. If you have a balance in the food service and you're able to pay that debt off, why not, I guess. The interesting fact is, and you might know this, is that technically you're not supposed to have more than 3 months of a surplus on your food service books. If you do, then you have to apply to the State Department of Ed and show them literally how you're going to spend it. You can't spend it to pay down student debt. You can spend it on equipment and things of that sort. So it's an interesting dilemma for all sides, saying if, during pandemic, I had colleagues that had $250,000 in debt. Now, we've come out of it. Most of my colleagues were able to somehow make up for that. So again, the question becomes is why can't you use, if you have enough surplus funds in your food service account, to cover those costs? That's a question that hopefully we'll get an answer to sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they're asking. the state is asking the federal government if we can have, like, Gary just said, if we can have a waiver, if we can use the money that we have in our account. It's never happened before. We'll let you know, otherwise it'll be part of, it'll be part of
But
that.
it's not in it right now.
It
No,
is
it's
not
not.
there now,
That would
no.
be another bad guy. That's all.
That would be another bad guy. Yes.
And Alan, go ahead.
Two things. One with the, you said we used to get 75%, and we projected 75%, and we got less?
Yes,
Is that Cromwell, or is that across the?
No,
board?
that's
What-
everybody. As I had
Okay.
said initially, the legislature, for decades, and I mean that, we've asked the legislature to fund 100% of excess special education costs, literally for decades. My organization has been very strong. CABE has been very strong in supporting that. This past year, the legislature reduced the State Department of Ed's request by $80 million. Up to that point, there was a sliding scale, again, depending on your town demographics, and it was actually pretty good. I believe the lowest was 81%, and the highest was going to be 89% reimbursement. Cromwell would have been in the mid-80s. The projected costs for this year, the legislature cut the State Department of Ed's request by $80 million for the coming year. Interestingly enough, the difference between what all school districts put in for reimbursement and what the state funded is the difference of $80 million. So if they had funded it, we would all been getting in the 80% level right now. I projected 75, we're going to get 70%.
So it's across the board, so.
Yes,
All right.
everybody's getting, for the most part, the 70% across the board.
And it just dawned on me, on a collection debt for the student, on the higher cases, in the banking world, I frequently made myself used small claims court. That might, it's very inexpensive.
Okay, Michelle DeMoro.
And it might.
Did she talk to you? Did you speak earlier
No, I
today?
did not.
Because that's what Mr. Morrow.
I think it's $95, and that might, they have a contest, who can run up the most debt, maybe go after a few small claims court cases might.
Mr. Morrow is so
Change
happy
that.
right now because she agrees with you, Mr. Schuman. Judge Judy. That's what I said. The two of you can run it. How's that? I guarantee we'll get it back.
Perfect record. The judgment's collection is not a matter.
Oh, there are two of you that are crazy in this world. No, I'm kidding.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your report. We'll move on to new business, and our first item under item A is the ESS update, reference C in your packets. And we do have representatives from ESS with us this evening. Would you like to introduce? I don't know their names. Okay. Oh, Sari O'Leary will introduce them, actually.
Yeah, are we on? Hello. We are very excited to have our ESS update. I'm standing over you, sorry. Erin, I want to say your last name, Chanel. I knew I was going to butcher it. Erin Chanel is here from ESS, and we work very closely with Erin weekly. We meet. Ms. Binnington has been in very close contact with Erin regarding ESS, and we are pleased. I know Dr. Macri had mentioned some of the updates at our finance meeting, but very pleased with the updates and the progress. And we also have one of our clinicians. I'll have Ramsey introduce.
So tonight we'd like to welcome Shanira Christie, one of our clinicians. Our other clinician was unable to be with us tonight unexpectedly. Equally fabulous. Her name is Francesca LaFontaine.
And we'll have Erin start with the update.
See if mine is failing to.
Do you want me to pull up mine? It's up.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Technical difficulties. Sorry. Thank you so much for having me tonight. So I'm going to provide an update. I know that my colleague Amy Conklin was here, and I was virtual with our RVP and our ACD. back in December. But I'm going to provide some updates tonight on our ESS data.
If you could just speak a little closer to the mic when you continue, that'd be great.
Got it. Okay, so
Is the mic on, Sarah?
was it just okay? So the first slide that we're going to talk about is this is just some statistics on the youth mental health outcomes and how they continue to degrade. The most interesting ones, include suicide is one of the second leading causes of death. This is for teens and young adults. The range is 10 to 34. 22% of the high school students are seriously considering or attempting suicide, which is up 16% since 2011. Roughly about 30% of youth have been hospitalized or have been admitted to hospitalized from 2016 to 2020, and those were linked to mental health needs. School refusal has been up, and it affects 15% of youth. 70% of teachers, principals, and district leaders said that students are misbehaving more now than ever. On the next slide, we have discussed this in our previous presentation, but ESS does provide, and aligns with the MTSS aligned approach to complement and strengthen district mental health efforts. So while we're providing all of these pieces from the foundational support and up, we currently operate here at Cromwell at a Tier 3 level. We're providing intensive in-school clinical supports. So the programming is for the students with the most intensive mental health needs. It's highly structured, it's longer in duration, and it's what we consider wraparound services, family, group, individual, all the components.
Could you just remind me what the acronym MTSS stands for?
Multi-tiered systems of support.
Okay, thank you.
SRM, the old SRM.
Okay.
So on the executive summary slide, it's just going to give you a quick overview of some of the things that I'm going to highlight today. Utilization of our services here at Cromwell has been very high. 1,942 total services have been delivered. And the students are receiving an average of 4.3 weekly services. Students in the ESS program have shown significant academic improvement, with an average of 57% of students improving or maintaining their GPA. 70% of students are improving or maintaining in attendance, and 88% of the students are improving or maintaining in discipline. So those disciplinary actions are log entries. We're super excited about seeing these numbers, and we hope that they'll continue to improve as the students are receiving our services. The data that we're going to look at today is from the beginning of the school year. So we pulled it from August 27th through March 23rd. During that time, we've had an average number of students that is roughly 14 to 15 students that were receiving services consecutively. Maximum at one point was 18. And we just feel that the quality of the partnership between ESS and the school staff continues to be healthy and strong. We most recently conducted a professional development on the youth mental health first aid, and we hope to continue to offer some professional developments in the next school year. On the next slide, this goes over our service delivery and engagement. So we have that service breakdown. So of that 1,942 services, we've provided clinical supports, which includes therapeutic check-ins and sorry, do you know this one off the top of your head? I'm forgetting. It's therapeutic check-ins and, no, PRNs is separate. I'll pull it up in just a second. And under individual, we have individual sessions. Admin is like any administrative meetings, 504s, IEPs. PRNs are crisis or as-needed sessions. So a lot of our students will be either prompting that based off of their reset plans, or maybe teachers are sending those students to ESS. Education is our learning strategies and any classroom observations or interventions. I do remember the clinical support was structured lunches also. And then we have our group sessions and our family sessions as well. So the graph, more towards the right, indicates, the fluctuation through the months of the average services per student. That exceeds our benchmark, so utilization is very high. And overall, of all the months, that breaks down to an average of 4.3 services per student. On the following slide, we do use a couple of different measures to monitor the progress of our students. So I know in the first ESS presentation, we talked a little bit about how we utilize the PHQ-9 and the GAD-7s. So we continue to utilize this to monitor the diagnoses as well as any improvements or declines with our students in relation to their depression and anxiety scales. Another measure that we utilize to monitor progress is a self-rating scale that our students utilize each week, and our clinicians will also give them a rating scale. This is based on 1 through 5, so you can kind of see the rating categories a little bit higher yet. It'll show you exactly what they'll identify each week. This helps us either assist our team in monitoring any decreases or increases in the students' symptoms, patterns, or perhaps even sometimes need for self-awareness improvement with the students. On the next slide, this is kind of like our meat and potatoes with our data. So this is where we're showing that there has been a significant improvement. You know, for example, in the attendance, we've had a decrease of 49%. So absences at baseline for students was an average of 18.35 and has decreased to 9.3. For disciplines, we have a 46% decrease where students' disciplines, as you can see, were at 0.56 and have declined to 0.40. So that's, again, an average for all of the students. And the GPAs have risen. So we have a 5% increase in the GPA. So from 1.68, they've gone up to 1.72. And that is through the year to date. So through, March 23rd. The next slide, with every marking period, we do send out a parent survey link, so all of our parents can hopefully participate and share their feedback with us. We compile that and we put that into our data report, what we call report cards, what I'm presenting to you tonight. And we had very strong responses. You know, all of the parents that did participate indicated 100% satisfaction, felt that the program was helping them cope, felt that the counseling staff understood them, they felt that they had been treated with respect. So overall, just very satisfied with ESS services. And 100% of them that did participate in this also indicated that they see improvement in their children. On the next slide, these are quotes derived from that parent survey, which can be really, really impactful. Parents have said, "Thank you for your care and guidance. You've been an important part of my child's journey. I can't overstate the positive impact you have made on my life. This program has been excellent, and without it, my child would not have made it through the school year. The ESS program has been so very helpful to my grandchild, and to our family. We appreciate this so very much. We have a high praise for staff members and are most grateful for their understanding and care for the students of Cromwell High School." The next slide indicates some of the things that we have been working on with our administrators, with our superintendent, with our DSS, everyone involved. So we have really worked on continuing clinical and administrative oversight, ongoing assessment of the program implementation this year. We've continued to identify school rules and make sure that those are being implemented with our clinicians in our programming. The student engagement has been very high. So these are all things that have been really working this year. Clinicians are really consistent with our students. I coined them our dream team. I appreciate our clinicians so much here. The collaboration and feedback with the ESS clinicians and teachers has been extremely positive, and we have had a great positive parent feedback. Areas that we want to focus on, maybe things that are already ongoing that we just want to continue to work on. So continuing to work collaboratively and receive constructive and positive feedback from the district. We want to continue to assess for the appropriate groups and learning strategies that serves the most effectively to the students and the right appropriate interventions. We want to assess for appropriate referrals and start to discuss any possible ODP returners. We're developing an assessment period for lack of engagement and continuing to explore creative parent engagement strategies. And so that is where I wrap up our presentation from ESS.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure we'll have some questions if you don't mind. Before I forget, if I could just have you go back, could you go back just for a second to the year-to-date academic impact? It's like 2 slides back. And in the section for discipline performance against baseline. I'm just a little confused on the numbers. It says improved 13%, declined 13%. Seems like a
Yes.
wash. And then over to the right, it
So
says,
we break that down. So if they have, for example, sometimes what will happen is, like, say a student doesn't have high disciplines, they come in at a 0, and then when we conduct our data, it's still a 0. That will just show a maintenance. So that's where we consider they've improved and maintained. That combination of the 13 plus the 75 equals that 88% of improved
gotcha.
or maintained.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, who'd like to start with questions? Ellen, go ahead.
This program is designed so we can try to keep students in the Cromwell school system as opposed to losing them. I'm assuming we've lost a few students based on the numbers that's gone up on the special ed and things like that. Are those students, is that data in these reports, or is that data kind of disappear and not in these reports? If we lost a student?
Yeah, lost students due to an outplacement?
Yes.
Yeah, so this data does not include that. This is only for students that are participants of ESS.
If this program didn't work for them, those numbers would have been higher, and now they're out of it, and the numbers
Right.
look
Well,
better.
I guess it's not apples to apples, and I would have a hard time giving you an exact number because I don't want to be personally identifiable regarding an ESS student that may have been outplaced. But ask your question again, and maybe we can kind of help.
If
answer
a
it.
student who had difficulties and was in this program left the school district, would he or she take that data with them, and this report would not reflect their
Yes.
decline
If
or
a student, correct, if they have left and they're in an alternate program, this data would not reflect them any longer, if that's what you're asking.
Would it show them from the start?
so the data could look worse, but because we lost them, the program didn't work for them. So if they're removed from this program, the data looks better.
I think there's an assumption, I just want to
Go
clarify,
ahead.
that every student who was outplaced was in ESS first.
That's what I,
Yeah.
I'm assuming
and-
if they were and they're out.
Yeah,
this
if they
would look
were and
different.
they're out, then this would look different.
Okay.
But not every student who may have been
Okay.
outplaced, was not part, because of their particular disability.
Or situation.
That too.
They're what?
Oh, was that, did you answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just saying, and also for talking about students who, get outplaced, this program is also currently functioning at the high school. So
Oh, yeah,
if they're
this
at
is
any of
just
the other
high school.
schools and outplaced, they would not be in this data.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, did you have a different question?
Just, you mentioned, I think it might be one or two slides earlier, but that's okay. The family sessions, which I'm personally a big fan of, right there. Do they take place in the school building where families come in, or are our clinicians or your clinicians going to the home?
We do a combination. So we do try to host those family sessions here at school, usually after school hours. But say, for example, if we can get the family to be engaged, but they will only participate virtually, we will offer that. But we also do conduct home visits as needed. Typically, we're doing that as an intervention for school avoidance.
Okay.
But we can, and we have been flexible and can be. So it really kind of depends on each situation.
Okay.
But our clinicians, and I can have Shanera speak for the clinician piece, but you guys have been quite successful in having families come in person. We also host once a month a parent support group as well. That's typically usually very hard for parents to commit to. In addition to those family sessions, they've hosted one. It's a small engagement, but nonetheless some. So.
Thank you.
Thanks. Catherine had a question.
So I'm sad to see that only 4 families participated in your parent survey result when we had 14 to 15 students engaged in it. And I am excited to see that the GPA has gone up for some of these students. Are we looking to identify as we move forward with this program students that are coming out of the middle school so we can catch them early on, like what's our work with CMS to try and catch them right off the bat, so we don't have to tank.
So we can
their
be
academics.
proactive as opposed to being reactive to
Correct,
situations. Yes.
correct.
So we started those conversations last year with the middle school, most specifically with our students who had 504s or IEPs and had been diagnosed with diagnosable disability. And the middle school is doing a fantastic job of communicating to us, hey, we have the student in 8th grade really struggling. And then we're having the conversation with the middle school because they don't have that firsthand experience with ESS in terms of what type of student is really benefiting from a program like this. It's less behavioral and more an emotional piece. And we're really partnering together to get in front of it. So last summer we had enrolled a small number of students prior to them even coming to the high school. So the intake took place during the summer. So that the family and the student already knew the clinician prior to coming into Cromwell High School. Services were already in place, and that way, as of day one, the student knew where the resource room was located and knew the staff member. And that's conversations that are continuing to happen now as we move through our spring PPTs and transition 504 meetings.
Thank you.
And for the current students, will there be services over the summer in any way? Continued?
So the wonderful part about ESS is so long as we have ESY or summer school going on in the building, they will offer their services as well. So the clinicians typically alternate days. So somebody will be here 2 days, somebody will be here 3 days. They're in the building between 8 and 12, available via Zoom or in-person appointments.
Great. Any other questions from anyone? Alan, go ahead.
There's a school district or two that has, this is what's your opinion, has basically banned phones. They've taken phones away, the social media thing, and after a week or two of a little adjustment, they report better attendance, better class participation. What's your opinion on that?
I personally do agree that there is a high correlation with a decline in mental health. I think, I, as a parent, I also established some of those rules at home because I do clearly see a connection. I've consulted with a few pediatricians too. I think that there definitely is a connection. It does not teach students grit. It teaches them immediacy and to get their needs met by cheap dopamine, rather than how to stick it out, how to be bored. Things that, when I was growing up, I didn't have access to. So, fortunately, or most of us, hopefully in the room. So personally, that's my opinion. I agree.
There is research on this.
Yeah, there's a lot of research on it. Yeah.
Is that something we should consider?
Lamont, isn't it up for, or did the bill die? I don't know. I know he was.
I'm not sure if it's still alive. Is it still alive, the bill?
Last I knew, Lamont was in favor of it, but it was going to take a legislative action, I think, to
So I wasn't
move forward.
I hope he does. To be honest with you, you will never, ever see me again. I have more parents calling us and emailing us about, you don't have the right to touch my kid's phone. You don't have the right to have him put it somewhere. It's my child's material. We paid for it. I want my kid to have it on him at all times in case there are emergencies. We're talking headphones, we're talking phones. Even if we have a policy in place, the first time you get a warning, second time you lose it. I've had parents come in screaming and yelling at me at 5:30 in the evening when the middle school takes the phone away and they've been notified that it was taken away. We've even had parents call the police on us because we've taken a very expensive device from their child. So I'm looking at my administrators. How many of us would love to be on phones? Every single one of us. But we might as well just write a huge check to Shipman and Goodwin because that's where it'll land us.
I'm sure our student reps are really responsible with their phones.
Oh, I'm sure they are. They never have them out in class. Come on, Julia. Julia doesn't even bring it to school. Summer, I don't know. You leave it in your little pocket thing, right? I just know I could tease you. So that's we wish.
All right. Well, it's not a problem we can solve this evening, obviously, but good point. Well taken, and thanks for your response about that. Any other questions on the overall presentation? No. All right. Well, I thank you both for being here this evening. We look forward to another update at some point and hope it continues to go in this
Absolutely.
path.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, Erin.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have an action item for approval of a CCSU PDEX study, reference D in your packets. And who will be introducing that? I don't see Mr. Vazone here, so I assume.
Carrie is here.
Is it Dr. McLean will come up?
Dr. McLean, yeah. Like, where is she? Exciting.
So, Dr. Vazone, who we work with on a variety of different things, approached us about a study that he's working on and asked if we could have Cromwell participate. He's doing it in conjunction with Maria Mangelo, who actually Dr. Macri and I took a class with when we were at Southern, so we know her as well. They want to come in and do some interviews with only adults on our professional development and evaluation committee, just to talk about the process in building a new teacher evaluation plan, and they're doing some research on that process and what that looks like and what were some of the priorities for the PDEC committees in developing their plans. We are in a very good position because we are just about finished, so we're a good candidate for a study.
So I feel like we always have this revision going on with the evaluation. So is his study to find something that's more unilateral that everyone could use, or is it specific to?
I think I don't know the exact research question, but the sense that I got when I spoke with him was more about the process of developing this particular teacher evaluation plan, and kind of talking about what were the priorities for the committee when we were developing it, and to get a sense of what the priorities are kind of across multiple districts when it came to developing plans. So I don't think there's going to be any recommendations for developing a different plan. I think it's really just a research study and seeing where everybody's priorities lie.
All right. Are there any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the study? Motion. Kelly, second by Catherine. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, and the study is approved. Move on to action item C, approval of minutes and motions from our March 6th special meeting, reference E. Is there a motion to, that was our virtual meeting, I believe. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion. Lori, second. Matt, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Alan's abstaining, Steve will abstain, and Kelly Cloutier will abstain. All right, motion still carries. And we'll approve our minutes and motions from our March 26th regular meeting, reference F. Is there a motion to approve those? Alan, second by Matt, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions?
Lori's here for that? Yeah, Lori,
I
you
think,
were here for that,
think
right?
maybe she left early, but she was here. You were here, right, Lori?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one were virtual and which.
Oh, that was the 2 times ago.
Okay.
I don't think we voted on that last time.
We voted on that last
Yeah.
time, okay. Just, thank you.
Okay, motion carries. The minutes are approved. Yeah, they're kind of out of order because of the March 6th one we are catching up on. All right, we'll move on to action item E, stipend approval 2023. Reference G in your packet, provided that we get to keep him for basketball still. Just saying. Is there a motion to approve the stipends?
Motion.
By Catherine, second by Kelly. All in favor? Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
about
Mr. Kuckle, would you like to do a dance? Actually, though, he is an excellent role model for our students.
Absolutely.
And I've worked with him in Middletown and here. And honestly, besides Kelly Maher, it's really hard to find coaches like that. So we are blessed to have him working with our boys. And I know he will reach out to our entire student population and working with our girls as well. So I'm just thrilled to have him. And Mr. Kuckle wanted to tell everybody last month, so I'm sure it's already out there. Yeah, I'm sure you hit send. Yes. Yeah. We're elated to have him.
And it looks like we also now have a softball coach for the middle school.
Yeah,
correct? So
yes, Mr. Petty stepped up.
he stepped up. Do we have a team?
Yes.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure last time we met. Great. Yeah. Well, that's great. And we're very happy to have all of them. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Stipends are approved. You're abstaining? Okay.
From the stipend.
From the stipends, yes. Okay, informational item F, human resources personnel activity, reference H in your packets. Any questions on that? No questions for Mrs. Morrow? All set? Okay, we'll move on to the principal reports, reference I, J, K, and L. Anything there? Matt?
I'm just looking at suspensions in school, out of school. It just seems like a high number. I feel like Alan may have brought this up in the past, but the total of in-school suspensions across CHS, CMS, and WIS for the month of March for just in-school was 26, and out was 18. I know that, behavior has been an issue, and it was just pointed out in the ESS presentation. I know that anyone in education feels like they're seeing it more, but to me, this feels like an increase. Are we seeing in March? I mean, I know March is kind of a long month anyway. There's not a lot of breaks, but I'm just kind of wondering from Ammon, does it feel abnormally high? Like, are you getting a sense?
Are you
that
looking at
there's
WIS?
I'm looking at the total of the three buildings: CHS, CMS, and WIS. I mean, the middle school had 16 in school and 12 out of school. I know historically middle school you tend to see more behavioral issues because of the age and development and so forth. I'm just curious if from the administrator's point of view, does it feel like we're seeing more of this? Because those numbers just struck me this time more than they have in the past.
I would say that the administrators will tell you that some of the behaviors that we see are increasingly troubling. If we give an out-of-school suspension, we've pretty much tried everything else unless we find it egregious, unsafe to someone else or themselves. We have a really difficult decision to make as administration right now. We don't believe that in-school and out-of-school suspension is the answer to everything. But over my dead body is this district going to be in chaos because of behaviors. So I strongly support the administration. They call me, we talk things out if it's wishy-washy. And I like to say that it is higher than it's been, but I can't use the word unusually because that would mean that I believe that it's not going to continue, and that would be not being honest with you.
To be clear, I'm not questioning administration. I 100% support, a steady hand with discipline.
Yeah.
I also think that if you let things go that you shouldn't, that leads to more things happening.
Yeah.
I do believe in you hold people to the policy and the expectation, and there are consequences for actions, and that's very real and appropriate. It also kind of sets the tone for the entire building. So I'm 100% in support of administration levying down appropriate consequences for appropriate behaviors. I'm not questioning that at all. I was just noticing that to me, it's the one thing that stuck out in all the reports for March, which was, wow, these all that's a lot of in school and out of school. I mean, particularly out of school, 18 out between three buildings. That's a lot of kids. And I know sometimes it's a 1 day, sometimes it's a 2 or 3. I get that. It just felt.
And repeat offenders. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? No. All right. Proposed education budget update. We did go over it earlier. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, everybody said everything I was going to say.
Okay. I thought so. Policies, we have none on for second read, and we have A through L on for first read. Are there any questions on, and we do have some that we're repealing. So A through J are for first read. So are there any questions on any of those A through J?
Yeah, I had one on the superintendent's designee. It seems like we're waiting for something to happen to have someone in that spot. Like, basically reading the policy, it's upon an issue that you'll appoint somebody.
So if anything was to happen immediately, if it was probably, God forbid, not going to
Yeah.
remember when something did happen, Dr. McLean gets the award.
So I guess my point is the way the policy's written, if something, God forbid, does happen to you and you can't make that appointment, it's not really, the guidelines of having someone already in that spot really aren't in this policy.
I think that's the point of the policy, though, isn't it? To have someone in that?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Because we did discuss it in our meeting. We're leaving the flexibility of who she can designate it to, because at any point in time, if there's a change in our administrators, then we don't need to go back to change the policy. So it is more of an open policy, but we do have, like, she has like an informal thing in place.
I 100% agree with
I think what
that
poor
ability,
Steve is
but-
saying is that if I drop dead tomorrow,
Thank you, Ann.
sorry, Steve.
So you want it immediate.
Yeah, we got to say
Yeah.
the rosary and
Yeah.
throw salt over our. My mother would not be happy with that, but I know what you're saying.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
my- that's
in
my
that
point.
situation, you could say it, but truly, you guys come to my funeral and then make a decision. At least come to my
If it's
funeral
that
first.
extreme, the board will decide, but in general, we're leaving it open for her to be able
which I agree
to.
with.
But
That's my
internally,
point.
someone in your office knows who that person is, and then they will reach out to me.
But could we make that decision at the funeral? Do it-
Sure, with me, have a party.
I'd like to end this conversation right now.
See,
But
I'm a good person to joke with this. My
But
family's
Steve,
like, you're nuts.
we did openly discuss that, and the administrators are fully aware of what will happen. But we are leaving that flexibility in case something
Yeah,
is
I
with
agree
one of
with
the, that's right, but
Yeah.
it's a great question.
And I had
But
kind of the
don't-
opposite
don't die.
question.
If I take a little, no, I'll try.
I had kind of the opposite thought where 3 days didn't seem like enough because weekends could be
Yeah, she's like.
considered.
Follow-up question. Does
Sure.
CABE have an award for the Board of Ed that had the most morbid discussion during the meeting?
We
I
would
think
definitely
it's
win
funny.
that.
If you don't laugh, you're gonna cry, so.
All right, sorry about that. So, A through J, any other questions of the non-morbid type? All right, is there a motion to move them to second read? Motion. By Lori, second by Matt, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. They'll all move to second read at our next meeting. And then we have K and L, which we're repealing, which basically means we're revoking the policy, deleting it. They're not needed, not mandated. All right, is there a motion to repeal K and L? Alan, is there a second? Lori, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries, and those two policies are now repealed. Board committee reports, policy met this evening. Anything you would like to share, Lori? No? Okay. Thank you all for being on that committee. There were a lot on there tonight, so thank you for that. And facilities and technology, we have nothing. Topic for future agendas and possible action to approve additional topics. Anything from anyone?
Yeah, I
Who the
just said it.
pallbearers are going to be.
What's that?
Stop.
I said who the pallbearers are going to be.
I can help. I guess just something from my personal side and being in the business world is we're always seeking continuous improvement. We do have a evaluation for the superintendent. I think we should consider also doing an evaluation for the Board of Ed, self-evaluation. CABE will put it on at no cost. I'd like to discuss that in a future agenda.
Okay,
So.
sounds good. All right, we can add that. We'll go around and see if anyone has any updates. Matt, would you like to start? All right, Alan, Kelly, Lori. Anything else? All right, Catherine, Kelly, Steve, anything? All right, motion to adjourn. Actually, we don't need it. Meeting is adjourned at 8:20. Thank you, everyone.